That must have sounded good at home.
Huh?
As the rabbi clears his throat forcefully into the microphone.
Amida,
I'm going all blue.
Awesome.
I am the sky.
I like it. I don't like Shabbat Prav.
Who did you ask for?
Oh, the Rindus.
Tony, right?
Yeah.
Is John going to come up too?
Yes.
We know that for a fact?
I asked her. She said yes.
I think it's her. She said yes.
Well, that just works that way.
Yeah. Okay, running late. Stream is going. The rabbi's
minutes.
lollygagging. What?
3 minutes.
3 minutes late.
3 minutes late.
Now we're getting back to it. That's how I roll. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice to see everyone here on this beautiful evening. Let's all turn and greet our neighbors and say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom to all of our streamers. Happily streaming away. Let's turn to page 128, rejoicing in how good it is to be together. Hine Matov.
And please feel free to sing along nice and loud. It sounds better when we sing together. Hine matovu manayim, shevet achim gam yahad. 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 Hine matovu manayim, shevet achim gam yahad.
It's my pleasure to call to come forward Tony and John Rindy for the lighting of candles and Kiddush. We're on page 120 and 121. We rise together as we welcome Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Now?
Now we'll light. Yep.
Very inexperienced.
Shekishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
On the next page.
Vayhi erev, vayhi boker yom hashishi, vayhulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'kol tzva'am. The heavens and the earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day God finished the work that God has been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all work that God has done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch.
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho be'ahava uvratzon hin hilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kadshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
Did we get cheated?
Juice, yeah.
You're better off.
We can take our seats. Only the best Kedem grape juice.
At least it's Kedem.
If we're lucky, it's Kedem. In the middle of page 124. Let's continue responsibly in the middle of that page. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. Together.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Let's turn to page 138 and 139 for the singing of Lecha Dodi. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the final verse, we will rise together and face the door to greet the Sabbath bride.
Bump ba-dum, bump lecha do di, leak rat kala, pene Shabbat nika Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nikaba la 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 lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nikaba la. Woo! Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala. Pene pene Shabbat nikaba la. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmi anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem ultiferet v'lit la 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 l'cha l'cha dodi. Likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabala. L'cha dodi. Likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabala. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki hi vikor habracha, me rosh mikdem nisucha, sof maseh b'machas avraha la 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 l'cha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabala, woo, l'cha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabala. He toreri, kiva ore kumi uri shir daberi, kavod Adonai alich la 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 l'cha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabala, woo, l'cha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabala. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'zechola, toch emune am segula. Boi chala, la 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 l'cha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabala, woo, l'cha dodi, likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabala.
Let's turn now to page 145. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Together, teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. On the next page, the Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Barechu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach. Leolam vaed. Leolam vaed. Yalla lai lai lai. 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 Yalla lai lai lai.
We can take our seats. Nah, fine. Let's continue on page 148 in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On page 151, in the middle of the page. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. Together.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
Than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. On the next page, let's rise together for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Let's take our seats. We're on page 154 as we continue with the Via Hafta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Leman tizkaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti ethem me'eretz Mitzrayim lehiyot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
On page 157, in the middle of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory.
May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice, as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Next page, Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. No ratehilot. O sefele, o sefele.
On page 161, in the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Together, watch over us
as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace. over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. On the next page, we rejoice in the celebration, the coming together of Shabbat with Yismechu.
Bum bum ba-dum ba-dum bum
Les
bum
Mis.
bum ba-dum ba-dum bum bum. Yismechu, Yismechu, v'malechu techa. Yismechu, Yismechu, v'malechu techa. Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Bum bum, ba-dum ba-dum bum bum bum, ba-dum ba-dum bum bum. Yismechu, Yismechu, v'malechu techa. Yismechu, Yismechu, v'malechu techa. Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat.
Takes something to stump the rabbi on a tune. That was a new one on me. That was good. It was very nice. She was waiting for years to get up here to do that Yismechu.
3 years.
3 years she's been waiting. That's wonderful. That was lovely. On page 165, let's all rise together. In an envelope marked personal, God addressed me a letter. In an envelope marked personal, I have given my answer. We're on page 164 through page 170 for the Amidah HaTfilah.
Adonai sifatayv tiftach ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zoher Hasdei Avot V'imaot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah rav lechoshia. Morid hatahal, Mehakel hayim bechesed. Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofei cholim. Umatir asurim. Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'el givurot. Umidom melach. Melech meimid umechayeh umatzmiya Yeshua v'ne'ema anata lecha hayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalelu lasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. Let's turn to page 175 in the middle of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. Together, there may we find you.
And there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. On page 177 in the middle of the page. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? What mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over all your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, tov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. On page 179, prayer for peace, Lo Yisa Goy.
Lo yisa goy el goy herev, v'lo yimadu o milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy herev, v'lo yimadu o milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy herev, lo yimadu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy herev, lo yimadu od milchama.
Now that was old school. So that was, that tune came from Sinai, I think. All the
That
way
was
down.
junior choir, thank you very much.
Yeah, junior choir.
1983.
I'm moving forward. We're all going to take a moment now for silent prayer and reflection, each one of us praying in the direction our hearts guide us at this moment.
Yehi yuli ratzonim refi, vegyon libi lifanecha. Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri vigoali. Yehi yuli ratzon imrefi, vegyon libi lifanecha. Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri vigoali. Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri, Adonai tsuri vigoali.
Let's turn now in our prayer book to page 371 as we think of our loved ones, members of our community who are in need of healing. We take them all into our hearts this time of prayer, and we wish for them a refuah shlema, a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit. Let's continue with Misheberach.
Misheberach Avotenu Mikor habraha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
we are thinking of at this time and wishing a complete healing to Pat Adamson, Eric Adler, Raymond Douglas Alcorn, David Altner, Barbara Bachman, Marty Bilo, Joe Brickman and Fran Brickman, Evan Bin, John Conway, Ann Cole, Richard Corwin, Mark, Mickey, Benjamin, and Brian Edelstein, Danielle Heyman Feist, Eric Fisk, Sam Friedman, Bob and Carolyn Gold, Linda Goldman, Jennifer Gousset, Barbara and Buddy Green, Marvin Hollander, Stuart J., Harriet Kaplan, Lori Cattleman, Hank Corin, Wendy Sugarman Krasnoff, Dr. Sonia Linky, Michael Lynch, Madeline Leone, Elsa Mikosh, Dolores Munsick, Ruth Polar, Mary John Resch, Jane and Jess Rifkin, Don Rolander, Liesel Schick, Lee Siegel, Dr. Cindy Steinman, Pete Tanner, Fred Truex, and Michael Vereb. If we're thinking of a loved one at this time, a community member from Yeshaberach, please speak their name as my eyes meet yours. Lifting all those names into our hearts and also those mentioned at home, let's continue as we say.
Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habraha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So I was thinking this week, there is so much going on in the world. There's so much to talk about Jewishly right now that I thought it would be an interesting time. We haven't done this, I think, in maybe a couple of years, to do an Ask the Rabbi session that I thought would open it up for questions. And sort of you can determine what we talk about a little bit this evening, whether it's something about from the Torah, something in Jewish culture, tradition, holidays, Jewish values, Israel, current events, whatever you want. You ask and I'll try to answer. 2 caveats. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to make one up. I will more likely say I don't know and get back to you. And the second one is, I think it's always a good general caveat that if it's a skosh too political, I might demur. I'll put it that way, but depending on the question. But I will do my level best. And Denise is going to be my roving sideline reporter here. That way the people at home can hear the question. No, well, the people at home can't hear you. Yeah. Had to go in Washington on Tuesday. So for those who don't know, I went to Washington, D.C. for the Jewish Rally for Abortion Access. It was a really wonderful experience, very inspiring, really meaningful. We got a lot of folks there, right, sort of near the Capitol building, and we had a very respectful but very sort of passionate experience. We had music. We had leaders from across all denominations of the Jewish community, including a couple surprises for me that were there. Because you expect, let's say a Rabbi Hara person who is the CEO, sort of exec director of my, CCAR, of my professional movement. But Rabbi Sarah Hurwitz was there, the first woman to ever be ordained by an Orthodox seminary. So she was there along with another Orthodox rabbi, head of a yeshiva. And between their remarks, all speaking about the importance in Jewish tradition and in halacha, in Jewish law, that abortion access, is a Jewish value. It was really, again, very unifying, sort of very inclusive. There was actually an organization there, Catholics for Abortion Access, because there is a large segment of the Catholic community, that believes that this is a necessary something that to have in the world, that it's healthcare. And my joke has been between the rabbis, the religious leaders, and the politicians. the rally got a little long because no one stuck to their 3 minutes. Everyone sort of kept on going. And then one of the big takeaways, from the rally is that we don't know, what tomorrow is going to bring next month. But the question is, what's the response? Are we going to be organized? Are we going to sort of work together to make our voices heard and then help change the narrative moving forward? Because we do believe that it's something worth fighting for, and that it is something that's going to affect, so many of us. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't shock me, I'll put it that way. I know there were some folks there, in terms of camera and crews and whatever it might be, but I don't know, the answer to that. I know that it was streamed. That's about all I have, is that the National Council for Jewish Women, of Jewish women, who organized the event, they streamed it. But past that, I don't know. I can't speak to it. Yeah, they didn't want us there. That was the original point of the rally, but it wound up not being something that could have happened.
Is there any difference
Technical difficulties at home. We're getting there. Also, the batteries might have gone, for all we know. Okay, yeah, and I'll repeat the question for those at home. Thank you.
between the various Jewish sects, the Orthodox, the Reform, as how they view abortion?
Yeah, so the question was, is there a difference between the different denominations, how they view abortion? So the answer is, all the movements believe that abortion access is important, that it's a Jewish value, that it exists. The circumstances under which they would be more approving of abortion, that's where it gets into the gray area for the different movements. So for the Orthodox, it's very cut and dry that if the mother's life is in danger, the mother's life takes precedence. And so it's not that it's permitted, it's actually a Jewish obligation at that point, because the mother's life takes precedence. Now, in other circumstances, where someone might need or want, desire, whatever terminology we're going to use to terminate a pregnancy, that's when it might get a little dicier in the Orthodox movement in particular, though, as the past month has shown, I've been doing a lot of reading on this subject, and there are what are called takanot and shuvot. There are some, English, responsa materials, right, where it's like, Dear Rabbi so-and-so, and they lay out the question for it. And these are, more Orthodox traditional rabbis responding to these questions. And it just depends on how one wants to interpret their answers, because some of them aren't here anymore. Some of this is like 15th, 16th, 17th century opinions that are given. And when they talk about women's health, the mother's health, and it sort of delves into a little bit general, I would say, about what does it mean, a woman's health, let's say, at risk. Is it about physical health? Is it about psychological health, emotional health, socioeconomic well-being? So depending on how a rabbi is going to interpret, those kinds of answers will sort of dictate how liberal one is on that response, is what I would answer. It's a great question, though. The Jewish view on cremation, evolving right now. Evolving is what I'd say. So the traditional view is no. I mean, that's the easiest thing. The traditional view is no. That's not something that Jewish people have done. It's more about respecting the body, and that the idea of even in it's often associated now with the Holocaust, and that we shouldn't be doing the things to ourselves that was happening during the Holocaust, which is, I think, frankly, very valid of a point. But it was before that, the prohibition against cremation obviously predates that. That's more in Jewish law, that you don't do that. But what I'm saying now is that you'll see more in the Reform movement and frankly in the conservative movement, more of a push towards cremation because it is fundamentally cheaper. And let's be realistic, that's part of it, that it's a cheaper alternative. One can argue it's more eco-friendly, right now, it takes up less space. And so there are, it's like one of those where if you ask me, like, Rabbi, should I, it's a personal decision. Like, I wouldn't tell you, necessarily yes or no. I would just say that it's not something I would necessarily tend towards. But
In addition, I know
Yeah.
here in Florida, when somebody is buried, they're not actually going into the ground because of the water table. There
Yep.
is a concrete, like, vault. Is there any, I was shocked the first time I dealt with that. How do we justify that in Judaism?
I think that would just say that it's, more, again, the value and the ecological, even though it has the vault. I think that it's a personal decision and, it's okay. Again, it's not something I would run towards. I'll tell you a story, though. I'll tell you a little funny story here. I think it's funny. Maybe it's a little bit dark. But I thought it was funny. Years and years ago, when I was doing sort of the interview process, it wasn't for this go-around. It was, previously. And I was in a congregational interview, and they say, well, Rabbi, our congregation is something very special. And right outside the sanctuary, they had a garden. And the garden had a columbarium in it. And a columbarium is an above-ground place to put the cremains there. And it was a fundraiser for the synagogue. And they were like, because like a synagogue, we'll buy cemetery plots. Let's be fair, and we'll sell cemetery plots as a synagogue in the different spaces. So this is one step sort of further. And like, Rabbi, would you be comfortable sort of selling spots in our columbarium? I didn't get the job, I'll put it that way. I was sort of, hemmed and hawed on that one because I was not comfortable. And I was not comfortable with it being like 8 feet from the sanctuary. Like it was just a little bit beyond my comfort level. Yeah, no, I'm saying yeah, I mean, like, it's a thing. I just had never seen it in a synagogue environment. Like that was a little bit much for me. As on the liberal side as I can be, that was a little bit beyond my comfort level. Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying it's like if your tradition, you go for it, it works. For me, again, it was a little much. Yeah, over here. Yeah.
In a book that I'm currently reading, which is supposed to be taking place in Israel, and it's the Cemetery for a Kibbutz.
Yeah.
And there's a woman, the woman who died requested a casket, and people objected to that because it was the tradition to bury right into the ground.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yes. That is a tradition as well, that you just go in the ground with the white shroud. I think most people know, like in Jewish tradition, you get the plain pine box, right? And perhaps surprisingly, those are sometimes more expensive than the more, the ones that have a little more, what's I'm looking for, a little bit more stylized and as it is. Yeah, John?
The idea of using those concrete vaults
Yeah.
so the thing won't collapse.
Mm.
And, my father was raised in an Orthodox family. So when he was buried, he requested the bottom of the vault be taken out. So it's just the walls and the top. So the thing wouldn't collapse.
Mm.
He was still buried directly on the ground.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that they can find some ways around it and some ways to work with it. Yeah, it's very interesting because I've done funerals, that have been traditional, sort of burials. Some that have been cremation. I've done a couple mausoleums. Actually, the mausoleums are my least favorite out of the bunch. That experience because. For me, as someone who does, a lot of funerals and has studied, Jewish law, Jewish text about the service in and of itself, there's there's a process to it, and then when you do other things, it feels a little bit disjointed from a Jewish perspective, but you make it work, and the mausoleum, there's no burial, so to speak, in a mausoleum. You're sort of like lifting someone up and sort of putting them in a shelf, and there's like a very loud sound of, when they are dealing with it, and I just found it a little bit disjointing, and so that was just my experience, or it was just like, the sound was like a cracking sort of sound. I didn't care for it, and that being said, again, to each their own. I mean, we all sort of handle this differently, right? So. Embalming? No, I have not. I haven't heard of one yet for embalming, so no. But again, it wouldn't shock me if in other places, perhaps in the Jewish world, that it happened. But I haven't had one of those yet. Never say never, as I've learned in the Jewish world. Very nice. Any other sort of thoughts, questions? I could talk all night, but it's, Yep.
You were talking about being buried into the ground.
Yeah.
The Hartwood Preserve is a cemetery up in Pasco County, and it's a natural cemetery, and
They do that. They're right into the ground. Oh, wow. So in Pasco County, she's saying that there's a place that does the right into the ground without any, all natural, eco-friendly. Yeah, Heather?
all these ones, like a burial at sea in a traditional pine box, even considered kosher. Traditional shroud or pine box, would a burial at sea be considered kosher?
That's a good question. I will put it this way. I would make an assumption that in times of war, if people need to be buried at sea for whatever reason, I feel like it must have happened, right, to a Jewish person, and I don't know the answer to that one. That would be an interesting one. That's what I have to get back to you. That's a good question. Yeah, no, but that's maybe on a lighter subject I would have done a little thing, but this is like death and burial. No, that's very interesting. Any other sort of final questions, final thoughts? This was fun. Okay. I want to thank everyone for their questions. This was a sort of a little bit deep dive into some really important issues. I appreciate that and appreciate the questions, and always good to have the conversation. Shabbat Shalom. On 586, let's rise together for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, la tate gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbachot adama, shelo sam helkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kichol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, Umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai, v'melech al kol ha'aretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad.
Let's take our seats. Let's turn to page 597. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of those who have passed away during this last year. Bob Pizzuti, Lily Singer, Shelley Foreman, Myron Pulfrey, Robert Sheldon, Beatty Rosenbaum Madnick, Shirley Botkin, Jack Moss, Linda Fine, Sid Bolin, Joan Keller, Leo Weintraub, Nina Stegg, Janet White, Phyllis Krause, Phyllis Allman, Sheila Buckwalter, Bob Mansfeld, Albert Gart, Barry Dabowski, Anne Blumenkrantz, Shirley Matler, and Richard Clausen. And we think of those who died at this season in years past. We're observing the yurtzeit of Molly G. Alper, Jack Altschuler, Hilliard Evrutis, Rhoda W. Barnum, Ruth Brecher, June Marks Falk, Miriam Fine, Sylvia Fershine, Eleanor Gilman, Isidore Goldberg, Ariel Nicole Rothschild Goldman, Yetta Turitz Good, Sam Gottenberg, Sylvia Sally Gottenberg, and Judy Gottenberg, Ida Green, Esther Gross, Horace Gumpertz, Helen Lewis Hames, Max Harrison, Hattie P. Hyman, Lucia Eagle, Alice Israel, Murray Kaplan, Mayor Alex Kaplan, Saul Leisner, William Levin, Regina Levy, Florence Lipman, Harry Mendelson, Lawrence Mintz, Herb Popkin, Ruth Rosenblatt, Stephen Rosenfeld, Helene B. Rosenfeld, Ida Rautenberg, Nettie Salzman, Josephine M. Sandler, Harry Schulhoff, Harvey Roy Sharp, Henry N. Shire, Henry Singer, Joan Slachter, Minnie Steinberg, Louis J. Stern, Benjamin Tischler, Morris Waldman. Is there anyone else observing a yurtzeit, saying Kaddish for any reason? Let's rise together. Kaddish Yatom, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divra cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv v'imru omen, Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam olomei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudisha barichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechemata, da miran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to Israel, and all of the world. As together we say amen.
Amen.
Let's take our seats. And now for a blast from our not-so-distant past, I now call forward for announcements. Our past president, past co-president, Denise Kirschbaum. I got nothing here.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go.
I'm on my tiptoes. Oh, never mind.
People just touch my stuff. It's not acceptable.
Shabbat Shalom. Heather, the Yehiyu Ratzon that you did is my favorite one, and I sing that every night that melody every night to my grandchildren when I put them to bed. So thank you for doing that one. Some announcements. June 3rd, we will be having our adult Banot mitzvah. We will be celebrating Kelly Siegel, Leah Slavinsky, and Sandy Sunter. And I'm very sad that I won't be here for it, but I will be thinking of you. June 4th, we will be having Jews and cheesecake. Rabbi will be teaching us all about Shavuot. And on June 24th, Beth Gelman, our cantorial soloist, will begin singing here on Friday nights, and then beginning in August, when our student cantor starts, it will be alternating Friday nights. So I am really excited about having both of them start here. Not that I don't love you, Heather, I do, but I just can't wait for our student cantor and for our soloist, Beth Gelman, to start. June 17th, Temple B'nai Israel is going to the Rays, so I hope you'll all join us and go. It should be a lot of fun. Let's see, July 23rd is Havdalah on the beach, one of my favorite activities that we do. Come barefoot, come with food, come without food, but enjoy. And I think that I have hit all of the announcements that I know about. Have a wonderful week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. A pleasure. Very nice. And so our musical schedule, next week, cantorial soloist Joyce Liu is going to be with us from Temple Beth El in St. Pete. Then the week after is Beth Gelman's first service. And so she'll be here for a couple of weeks, and then we'll celebrate her officially. Wanted to give her a couple weeks to get used to the crowd, and then we'll have our celebration of her on June 24th. It is, as Denise said, very exciting. We're really looking forward to a great year. And I'll just add one more thing, is that as we are bringing in, I want everyone to sort of remember, we're bringing in 3 new professional staff members for the next 3 months. We've hired a wonderful new educator, Jackie Klein, who is now the director of J-Learning Clearwater, our collaborative religious school experience with Congregation Beth Shalom. She's working remotely over the first month as she's moving here from where she lives to this side of the state, and she's hit the ground running, making a lot of meetings. I'm getting a lot of emails, and it's fantastic, to be honest. It's really exciting. And so there are going to be some events in the next couple of months to welcome her to our community, as well as for our soloist, Beth Gelman, and for our student cantor, Iris Carlin. To just be on the lookout for those events coming up. And it's never too early to start promoting, but it's one of those things. I just want everyone to circle on their calendar September 17th. On September 17th, that's Slichot, and it's our dedication of the sanctuary in memory of Rabbi Daniel Treiser. So it's going to be a really special night, September 17th. More information to be forthcoming. With all that said, any announcements near into the world?
No?
No, she's good. Okay, so let's all rise together for Motzi.
Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Thank you, God. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. And thank you, Pete Tanner, from your couch. And thank you to all our friends who are not here but should be here. Shame on you. Come to our beautiful sanctuary. We are open. We are ready. Shabbat Shalom.
Don't do it.
So you're gonna punish me where I can't do services next week? Yeah, I'm banned from services for.
Now you have to do my holidays too. I'm gonna invent new holidays for you to do. New holidays just for you. Thank you, Evan.